Hello and welcome to my review on the video game The Elder Scrolls Arena, where I shall discuss my experience playing this game and even give my own impression of it. As I'm sure many are actively moving about due to the sudden release of Oblivion Remastered, I am sure some of you guys may venture here due to the correlation between the games, or due to Todd Howard mentioning it. Anyways, let's get into the review on Arena. Now, what is The Elder Scrolls Arena? Well, as it says via the wiki, The Elder Scrolls Arena is an open-world action role-playing video game developed and published by Bethesda Softworks. The first game in the Elder Scrolls series, it was released for MS-DOS on March 25th of 1994. The game follows the player trying to uncover a conspiracy against Emperor Uriel Septim VII. Arena takes place on the entire continent of Tamriel, complete with wilderness, towns, and dungeons which are procedurally generated. The game features a day-night cycle and includes a spell creation system that allows players to mix various spell effects. Development for Arena was initially planned to have the player travel in towns across Tamriel, fighting other teams in their arenas until the player became Grand Champion. As development on the game progressed, side quests took more importance. The tournament aspect of the game took a backseat, role-playing elements were added to the game, and the game expanded to include towns outside the arenas and dungeons beyond the cities. Arena would spawn later sequels that created a series that has gone on to become one of the biggest Western RPGs of all time. The game received praise from critics and would go on to win several awards such as Computer Gaming World's 1994 Role-Playing Game of the Year. The game set a new standard for this type of CRPG and demonstrated just how much room was left for innovation. Although not as popular as the later games, Arena generated a cult following and sold 120,000 units. The game was followed by Daggerfall in 1996. In 2004, a downloadable version of the game was made available free of charge as part of the 10th anniversary of the series. Alright, now that you know the basis of the game, let's delve a bit into the story. When it comes to the plot of this story, the introduction of the game pretty much sums everything up. Here's what was written in the game's introduction. Imperial battle mage Jaeger Tharn summoned both Emperor Uriel Septim VII and General Talon Warhaft on rumors of treachery. But Jaeger Tharn betrays the two and teleports them into another dimension. Tharn's apprentice, Rhea Silmain, witnesses this treachery and tries to warn the Elder Council, but is killed by Tharn, her corporeal form being destroyed by the Staff of Chaos. Jaeger Tharn then transforms himself into the image of the Emperor and takes the throne, shape-shifting demonic minions into the Emperor's guard, and sends a low-ranking member of the Emperor's court, the player's character, and later the Eternal Champion, into the Imperial dungeons to die. Rhea Silmain then becomes incorporeal through the use of magic and remains in Tamriel so that she can warn the prisoner that the Emperor is actually Tharn in disguise. Rhea then creates a cell key to aid in the escape and teleports the prisoner to another province through the use of a shift key. The only way to stop Tharn is to obtain the Staff of Chaos and use its magical energies, but the staff has been split into 8 pieces and scattered across the continent. Being the only one Rhea can trust, the prisoner must travel to Tamriel's most dangerous dungeons and mazes to recover all 8 staff pieces. In 3E399, after a long quest to reassemble the pieces, the Staff of Chaos is reassembled. However, Tharn was not defeated as hoped. In an attempt at becoming immortal, he drained the staff of its power and combined it with his life force within an artifact named the Jewel of Fire. The prisoner fought their way through the Imperial Palace to the dungeons and engaged in a cataclysmic battle. The prisoner then united the staff with the jewel, melting Tharn, and creating a portal to the dimension in which the Emperor and General Warhaft were being held. They would fall out of the portal, and the prisoner would then become Tamriel's Eternal Champion as a reward for saving them. Finally, let's speak of my own experiences pertaining to Arena. When it came to my time playing The Elder Scrolls Arena, I must say that I enjoyed playing this game from start to finish. Not only because of the story, but because it was difficult and it essentially taught me how games were in the 90s. My experiences with the Elder Scrolls series has mainly been based upon Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls Online. So when I started playing Arena and I had to learn from scratch, there were no tutorials along the game. So it does take time to learn how to play the game. Even when you're using, online aid and whatnot, the main issue that, is present would usually be the keyboard layout and, well, obviously the gaming mechanics inside the game. When it pertains to the current keyboard layout, its configuration was most likely based on the MS-DOS, which is short for Microsoft Disk Operating System. The MS-DOS was a popular command line operating system for IBM PC-compatible computers, which was developed by Microsoft in the 1980s. This means that the key bindings were not as orthodox as today's would have been. Arena was most likely one of their first installments, so under consideration, it does make sense that there are some issues. Still, I cannot say this was a bad thing. It gave rise to a new approach and made the game difficult for a certain period of time. This was resolved after the first dungeon, well, if you want to be specific, the prison, escape. After which, I had found a mod that fixed the layout and provided a more simplified key binding. Now, as for the mechanics, what I mean by this is the attacks when it pertains to weapons like swords. Due to the lack of guides and my own insufficient knowledge, I was not able to understand how to attack even a rat in this game. So, let's just say, when I did figure it out, there were way less rats in Arena's prison. Since they and the goblins were excellent XP farms, I took advantage of it. Anyways, as for the other mechanics, the only other issue that I was experiencing was connected to the inventory page. I was not sure if I had a ring on for at least 30 minutes of the game until I looked up online just to make sure. While these two things were annoying, they were mainly just starting issues, so they weren't as bad since they were handled immediately. Truthfully, there were way more pros than cons when it pertained to this game. An example of this would be the magic system, which could be tweaked towards your preferences at the Mages Guild. Adding new attacks, enchantments, and even curses were just a few things that you could do for a fair amount of gold. To add on to the experience, there were also weapons, armors, and accessories with unique enchantments. These could be found in dungeons, and their effects could be revealed at the Mages Guild for a fee. The effects varied, but were incredible, especially the stat-enhancing ones. The only annoyance in the equipment category was mainly the repairs. They could take a good amount of time to repair, and, well, you had to go to the exact location where you requested the repairs to even retrieve your armor. Lastly, I must say that I enjoyed the bartering system. While many games do have this, in Arena, it had great precedence. You could haggle prices down by incredible amounts and could sell equipment for higher prices than usual. This alone made it much easier to earn a small fortune and get more starting gear and more restocks if required. Now let's get to wrapping this up. As I'm sure many of you have noticed, I do love this game. If I include all the factors, I would honestly have to rate this game as a 9 out of 10. If we are excluding the key bindings, then this game deserves the full marks. Just to clarify, I did play Arena as a sorcerer, which I must admit was a breeze towards the mid-game and definitely during the endgame phase. Although I am tempted to play it again as another class, since honestly it would be interesting to go around as a more combat-oriented mage, or maybe even as an assassin. Being solely reliant on spells might make it safer, but I felt I was missing out on tidbits by being a complete, well, semi-complete spellcaster. I was more like a jack-of-trades kind of sorcerer, if I am being transparent. Anyways, I do plan to post more content pertaining to Arena. I will be working on a proper guide, maybe a lore video, and a video explaining the races, attributes, and classes, as well as possibly going back and redoing Arena at a later date, with a certain different class. Although I do plan on playing some Oblivion Remastered not long after posting this, so there will be some gameplay posted pretty soon. Okay, thanks for watching my short review on the Elder Scrolls Arena. Truthfully, when I begin uploading more games, reviews, and, well, anything lore-based, I will add more than what I've done so far in this one video. If there's a bit that I did not cover, feel free to comment down below. If the content is to your liking, please do consider subscribing and leaving a like. All the support, insights, and opinions are always welcome. Hope to see you guys next time.